is a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are Kansas City.
The Royals have started 2016 right where they left off in 2015 with comeback wins. Ray Fuentes, good time for his first hit as a Royal. He will drive in one. He will drive in two with walk-off wins. Bounces away. Here comes Gore. Play at the plate. Royals win it. And with other dramatic wins. Or deep left field. Gone. One more win, and the Royals take a 4-game series in Houston. One of the toughest places to win in the American League. Royals baseball in downtown Houston on a warm, sunny night. The Royals hope to take 3 out of 4 from the Astros before heading to Oakland. Royals baseball is presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Right stuff, low price every day. And on this warm, sunny night, the roof is open. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the ballpark with Rex Hudler. I'm Ryan Lefevre. So far, the Royals are not hitting, but thankfully, they are pitching and winning some close games.
I'll tell you what, pitching and defense, they go hand in hand, and Royals fans know that. It's been fun to see this win and how they're doing it without the great offensive production that they're used to. However, it's that ERA. Look at it. Team earned run average, second best in the American League, and you're getting it done if you're in the top 5 in that category, especially in the AL where all the hitters reign.
So the pitchers are our Honda most trusted players. And now Ian Kennedy takes the mound for the Royals tonight. It has been 2 seasons since a team has won a 4-game series against the Astros here in Houston. And the Royals have the right guy on the mound. We'll talk about him right after this. and the Astros. It's also the second start for Ian Kennedy as a Royal. On Saturday, he was brilliant against the Minnesota Twins.
And that came as a big surprise to a lot of Royals fans because they'd never seen him pitch in a regular season. He was awesome. He had all 4 pitches working, and not one was more dominant than the other. His command was impeccable. 7 punch-outs, 0 runs, 0 earnings, only 1 walk, and that was a borderline pitch. He'd look great. If he could do that again, the Royals would be smiling on the way to the West Coast.
Royals are going for the series. The Astros are hoping for a series split. It's been a very tight series the past couple years here in Houston. All time for the Royals in Houston. They've matched up with the Astros in tight series. The Royals have one more win, where the Astros have had the advantage in runs scored and home runs, and the Royals have been a little better in the closer games. The lineups and the first pitch from Minute Maid Park are coming up next. wrap up a 4-game series. The Royals were swept here last year, and now tonight with a win, they could take 3 out of 4. Ed Yost going to stay with the same lineup, and Paulo Orlando will be in right field, batting 9th.
Yeah, hey, look, he's staying with Paulo Orlando, obviously. He's one of the most productive hitters on the Royals lineup with runners in scoring position at 3 for 6 and puts the ball in play. Why not stay with him?
6'8" Doug Fister.
Wow. You know what? For a sinker baller, that's ideal. You want that height that gets a little downhill angle. He's going to go fastball. He'll sink that fastball. He's got a curve that he'll mix in, also a slider. He's a pretty good pitcher. He's going to eat up some innings, but really going to kill a lot of worms. He likes to get those ground balls.
Escobar takes a strike, according to home plate umpire Jim Wolf. 4 hits for Escobar in the series and a run scored off speed, and that's in for a strike, and it's 0-2.
Doug Fister is a great getaway day pitcher, especially for the Royals heading out of here. This guy, he don't mess around. He gets on the slab and throws the ball. Really keeps his team on his toes. In 3 pitches, disposes of Escobar.
And typically, a contact pitcher who works fast is going to get pretty good defense because they're going to be on their toes. And that defense tonight has Rasmus, Gomez, and Springer in the outfield. On the infield, Marwin Gonzalez starts at third for the first time in this series with Carlos Correa, Jose Altuve, and Tyler White. Nick Moustakas jumps on the first pitch. Castro over near the Royals dugout, and it lands just on the other side of the screen, right next to those 2 little guys.
Lucky one of them didn't catch that one. That's a tough duck right there. When you're sitting right up the screen like that, you're not sure if that ball's coming at you or not. Happy no one got hit. There's one kid's duck. He's looking at it. He's not sure. Ooh, man, this lucky. Yeah. Hey, souvenir with a smile.
Big curveball. 5 pitches, 5 strikes from Doug Fister. Moustakas is 2 for 13 in this series. That doesn't tell you the whole story because he's also hit into a lot of bad luck. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Hitters go through that, every one of them. That's where it plays mind games with you. You want to keep the same focus, stay positive.
High and deep to right field. Springer is at the wall, leaping just over his glove, and Mike Moustakas hits his 3rd home run of the year, and the Royals have a 1-0 lead.
The entire series, they've been challenging Moustakas inside, whether it's big curves, cutters, fastballs. They feel like there's a weakness there, but I don't see it. He gets him on the board with 1 swing of the bat. A lot's been said about Doug Fister's velocity drop. He used to throw in the low 90s, but now he's more in the high 80s. And you know, for a sinker baller, really, velocity is not the issue. Because most of the time, less is more for a sinker ball. If you try to overthrow the sinker, it straightens out and stays flat up top. It's a big lift right there for Ian Kennedy.
Lorenzo Cain goes the other way. That's a good looking swing. So after the 3-pitch strikeout, a home run and a single to right for the Royals.
Yeah, that ball was down with Moose. It wasn't exactly belt high. He had to go down and he dropped the head of that bat and caught the ball just perfectly. The ball had the backspin on it, enough to carry over into the 2nd row.
And all that power for the Astros and how dangerous they can be in this ballpark. The Royals have out-homered Houston in this series 4-2. Now Eric Hosmer, he's down no balls, 2 strikes. He's had a good series. Our Kubota power stats 6 for 12, 2 runs scored in this series. And he's always done well in this ballpark, hitting over 400. Lays off the curveball. Lorenzo Cain got a good read, and he moves up to second base.
Sure did. Now, one of the reasons why Haas is heating up is that he's using the opposite field. I love it when he hits that ball between the bag at third base and the third baseman. That means he's waiting as long as he possibly can, and it just opens up the whole field for him. Sure, pitchers try to tie him up inside, but when they leave stuff out over the middle and away, he don't miss that, at least in the last 3 games. When you're hot, you're hot. You stay in a groove.
2-2.
Look at that. How about that? See, he's waiting. This is how you do it. When you do that, the power comes. When you're going away, next thing you know, you recognize that pitch inside and you could pull him. But Haas mainly stays middle opposite field. Ooh.
Full count. Breaking ball smashed into right field. Cain will be held by Mike Jershely.
Go.
And now a wild throw. Fister backs it up, backhands, and they get Cain.
Great try by Lorenzo Cain. Now he just waited a split second long. If he would have kept going and trusted his first instinct, he would have scored that run. The ball got by the cutoff man. He kicked it to the third base side. Watch this ball kick off with his glove, and then Lorenzo read it. Just got a little bit of a late win, and great play by Fister.
That flip, huh?
Yeah, that's an infield flip there. It's pretty fortunate with where he put that. Just got him on the side. Anyway, the Royals are hitting the ball.
Hosmer goes down to second on the wild throw. So it's scored 9-3, 1-2. Fastball strike to Kendrys Morales. They're going to say that Hosmer went to second base on the throw, no error. Hosmer's now 7 out of 13 in this series. Kendrys Morales to Altuve, who may still have time, and he does. Morales may have hit it through his glove. So it was noisy, and out of all that, the Royals get the 1 run against Doug Fister, thanks in part to his good defensive play. Nothing he could do with Mike Moustakas' 3rd home run of the year. The Royals lead 1-0. 1-0 Royals to the bottom of the first inning. The Astros scored 8 runs in game 1 on Monday night, and then have scored just 4 runs combined over the last 2 games. And now they face Ian Kennedy, who has made 2 starts against the Astros in his career, both times here in the so-called Hitters Park, but not with Kennedy on the mound. 2-0 in 2 starts, and his ERA is well under 1.
That 1-run lead there he's got, it's going to help him. He's going to just get in there and pound that strike zone full. He didn't have 1 pitch that worked for him. He had all 4 that worked for him in his last outing.
An outstanding fastball command. He kept just about every fastball off the middle of the plate, beating Minnesota on Saturday.
Fastball, curveball, changeup, slider. The cutter combination. And he had some nice 2-seam run on that fastball in his last outing. A good little 2-seamer. Playing Altuve straight up, infielders straight up, outfielders all straight, because you never know. This guy, he sprays the ball around. We've seen his power. We've seen him doink some to right field, and when he does and hits it to the right outfielder's right or the left, there's no question he's going to second. This guy's got great speed. He challenges outfielders.
Driven to center field. A lot of room out there for Lorenzo Cain. Altuve, who's had an outstanding series, hits it hard again. For the Royals defensively, and Ned Yost for the 3rd straight game here goes with this defensive alignment, which includes Paulo Orlando in right field. Ray Fuentes started in the game on Monday, and now Paulo the last 3 games.
And watching Lorenzo Cain on contact, he froze for about 2 seconds just to see the rotation on the ball, how hard it was hit. And when you could do that, when you have his kind of athleticism and his speed, he takes great routes. Watching this ball's hit, he's going to watch it, and then he reacts. Because you got to really pick up that spin when the ball's hit right over your head. It's a very difficult play.
Changeup, 1-1 on Springer. That's Rusty Kuntz in the way he teaches his outfielders that the first move is a drop step. To get into a good reaction position, you can either go back or come in. But that 1 split second to read the ball instead of making a judgment too soon.
Yeah, and it's important that you try to pick it up as soon as possible, because sometimes they hit the top of the ball, it's got topspin, and other times they hit under the ball. So you got to really check the flight of the baseball.
Mike Moustakas caught that on the fly. He throws the first anyway. It's a line out to 3rd, so the Astros getting into bad luck with 2 lineouts. And here's Carlos Correa. Correa drove in 2 runs in game 1. And that's it in this series. Staying aggressive with the fastball, 0-1.
Kennedy has very compact delivery, very clean. He's able to repeat his delivery. We witnessed in his last start against Minnesota.
Good spot. Wow.
Man, what was that? So we're working both sides of the plate on Correa. Correa is another one of those hitters that uses the whole field. He's not a one-dimensional pull type hitter. Man.
You know, it's become just pitching cliche, because if you ask a manager or a pitching coach, what does a pitcher need to do to be successful, or when he does pitch well, what did he do in being successful? And you almost don't hear it anymore because they say the same things, but it's changing speeds and working both sides of the plate. Kennedy's already established here that he's going to work both sides of the plate.
Right, and trying to get ahead of hitters. 1 and 2 is a good spot to be in. We got a man there.
He's living right tonight. 3 balls hit hard and 3 outs. 1-0 Royals at the end of 1. Better seats when the roof is open. Those fans are not inside Minute Maid Park. Is that Union Station out there?
I think it looks like it's maybe a conference because I got my binoculars. I saw people with name tags on. It might be a conference up
It's
there.
the old train station up there. They're on the roof looking into the ballpark. Alex Gordon leads off. That's a called strike. 1-1. Alex has reached base 6 times in the first 3 games with 3 hits and 3 walks. Breaking ball is inside. Mike Moustakas homered with 1 out in the first inning, and then the Royals hit 3 rockets after that, but only got the 1 run. Pfister took a little bit off of that pitch, and it's 2-2. Gordon, Perez, and Infante coming up. Lays off the curveball. 3 balls and 2 strikes. The curveball came in at 70 miles an hour.
It's a slow one, but it's got a big break to it, especially coming out of that frame. Big, tall, 6'8".
That ball was hit hard. So both teams are right on the opposing pitchers in the early innings. But the scouting reports defensively have been very good.
Oh, man, that's too bad for Alex. That's extra bases. What a good swing. Short, quick, going to the opposite field. Now, when you go back to the dugout after hitting a ball like that, you feel okay. You're all right. All right, I'm going to get him next time. It'll fall. So much revolves around the mental mind of being positive. You have to.
Salvi, he jumps on the first pitch and he grounds it to Gonzalez. 2 down. Hey, Joel Goldberg.
Hi, Ryan, down here by the Royals dugout. Beautiful night. Last night, the 2 home runs came from childhood friends. As a matter of fact, 5 of the 6 RBIs in the game came from Salvador Perez and his very good friend Jose Altuve. They grew up playing baseball against each other and then on all-star teams together, with Jose as the shortstop and Salvi as the first baseman, around 14 years old. And Altuve telling me today he knows that I love him. I root for him all the time, but I hated him last night when he hit that home run. Salvi basically said the same thing, saying, I root for him all the time after tonight, and I won't be rooting for him 3 days at Kauffman Stadium, but otherwise I'm good. I asked Altuve, who'd you root for in the World Series then? Salvi, right? And he said, well, Wilmer Flores of the Mets also played on our childhood team, so I kind of was rooting for both guys. A lot of love, and Hud, you could see it too. They may be complete opposite sizes. They have the exact same energy on the field.
Better believe it, they are givers of energy, not takers. There's givers and takers on teams. Some guys don't want to give any energy, they just want to absorb the rest of them. These two teams have a lot of energy.
All Fister needed was Marwin Gonzalez in the top of the second inning. 3 up, 3 down. Royals baseball is brought to you by the Missouri Lottery. Every ticket you play gives back to schools across Missouri, so play it forward with the Missouri Lottery. By Menards, save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. And by your Midwest Ford dealers. Visit your MidwestFordDealers.com. 1-0 Royals on a Mike Moustakas first inning home run. This is Colby Rasmus leading off the bottom of the second inning and taking high from Ian Kennedy. Rasmus has hit 3 home runs this year, including a 2-run shot in Game 1 on Monday night. Two and 0.
Rasmus 2 for 6 in his career off of Kennedy. Just 4 Astros have faced Kennedy before. Rasmus loves the ball middle in. He'll go the opposite field with 2 strikes, but he likes to pull.
Four-pitch walk. Kennedy walked only 1 on Saturday in 6 2/3 innings against Minnesota. Minnesota, by the way, is now 0-9. They lost 3-1 this afternoon at home against Chicago. Atlanta also lost 6-2. They are 0-9.
Two teams having a rough go, man. That's really a tough start. You fear that as a manager and players.
Tyler White batting just .483. season is falling apart.
I can't believe he's under 500. Kennedy will induce a ground ball double play occasionally, although he likes that four-seamer up, that fastball for strikeouts. But he induced 10 ground ball double plays last year in 30 starts.
Well, he's missed with 6 straight. It's 2-0 on White. He was hitting .560 when the Royals arrived. He was American League Player of the Week for the first week of the regular season. There's a good pitch at the knees. 2-1.
Just gotta love how the starters pitched in game 2 and 3. Medlin was really good after he settled down in that first inning. And Ventura last night, I just loved his mentality. I loved how he kept his composure. Still had a little drama, a little flair in him, but nothing to where he got carried away.
3-1. Well, you pointed out when he gave up the home run to Jose Altuve that he watched it, got a new baseball, and just moved on.
When Altuve, we showed him, he hit it and saw the fly to the ball, and he looked right at Ventura. And lots of times hitters will do that just to see the reaction and see if the pitcher's watching him. But Ventura's wising up and just turning away. Don't even make eye contact with him.
When Escobar made that error later in the game, Ventura just brushed that off and came right back. 3-2 on White. Rasmus runs, strikeout, throw out. So just like that, a 4-pitch walk, and then the next hitter's 2-0, and 3 pitches later the Royals have 2 outs.
Beautiful job. Kennedy gave Salvi a nice pitch to handle. Salvi took his time. He didn't rush up out of there. He knew he had time. Rasmus not the speediest of guys, but he's got to make the throw on the right side of the bag, and he did. Perfect throw. You want to put it right on the first base side. Beautiful to watch the transfer from glove to hand. It's very quick. His hands are unbelievable, Salvi's.
1-1 to the designated hitter Preston Tucker.
You know, and Joel Goldberg's pregame show had Rusty Kuntz on there talking about Altuve's worth the ticket to watch. Pay to watch him. Salvador Perez is too, especially you get to see Salvi on every pitch. How he's cutting the angles on the corners now. He's like a surgeon back there. He's setting up. He's very methodical in where he sits, what he's thinking. His preparation is awesome. And he can retain the game plan from start to finish through whoever pitches. Very smart catcher.
1-2.
Watch how the limited movement in Salvi here. Slow motion. He's going to do one step. Okay, his back leg stays planted, doesn't even move it. Steps towards his target, stays on top so the ball doesn't tail too much. He's got him.
You know, that was a good shot of how strong his legs were to have such limited motion and throw like he did to second base. Leadoff walk. Kennedy strikes out the next 2, and a strikeout throughout double play mixed in. Mike Moustakas homered with 1 out in the first inning. 1-0 Royals. Paulo Orlando, Alcides Escobar, and then Moustakas against Doug Fister. Fister fooled Alcides Escobar with a couple of pitches to begin the game. Other than that, the Royals have been right on him. In on the hands just enough, and Rasmus takes care of Paulo Orlando. University of Kansas hospital injury report, and we heard the bad news in spring training as Tim Collins was coming back from Tommy John surgery that he was going to have Tommy John surgery again. The first graft, the grafting of a transplanted ligament, and his arm didn't take, so he's having the surgery again.
Tough break, but you know what? He's moved past it. I mean, when he got the initial news, he says it kind of was depressing a little bit. He got down, but then he moved on. He says, "It's all right. It's what it is. Let's get it fixed, and we'll get back out there and pitch again."
And if he's looking for inspiration as to how he's going to come back from that, well, he can talk to Chris Medlin and Joakim Soria, who both had Tommy John surgery more than once. 0-2 on Alcides Escobar. Chris Medlin was the winning pitcher in Game 2. 2 runs, 5 innings, 97 pitches, 7 strikeouts. That's the most for him as a Royal. Back to Fister, who throws in the dirt. 2 down. Remember, this season at Kauffman Stadium, Buck Nights are on Thursday. So come enjoy the Royals while saving some cash, enjoying delicious hot dogs and peanuts for just $1 each. Get your tickets now for Thursday Buck Nights at 1-800-6-ROYALS or online at royals.com/promotions. Don't forget, weekday home games in April and September begin at 6:15 this year. 6:15 weekend, or rather weekday home games in April and September, so the kids can come out. Curveball in for a strike, 1-1 to Moustakas, who hit a breaking ball into the second row in right field for his 3rd home run of the year in the first inning.
Back-to-back curves again here, the 2nd time up.
That'll just tell you that Fister believes in his game plan. He just didn't execute. But they still believe that's the right approach for Moustakas. I think he wanted that curveball that Moustakas hit out in the first inning, right around where that last pitch was, down and in and out of the strike zone.
Moose has had that bat for a while. Noticed it. It's all caked in pine tar. Pine tar's all the way up, of course, underneath the legal limit of the label. Sure is nice when you get a good grip up there, and when you have that grip, it feels like an extension of your hands. That bat, it's all in one. It's got a good feel to it, especially when you make contact like that.
Caught by Rasmus. More bad hitting luck for Moustakas in this series. However, his first inning home run is the difference. 1-0 KC. 2 innings. Our Academy Sports and Outdoors leaderboard. The Royals liked that first number and the second one for that matter, but they wanted innings from Kennedy. 6 consecutive seasons with 30 or more starts, all those in the National League, and he's the only National League pitcher to accomplish that the last 6 years. No fewer than 168 innings over his last 6, and we can get into this a little bit later, but his strikeouts have really spiked over the last 2 years, and he has struck out 2 tonight as he gets ready to pitch to Carlos Gomez, who swung with one hand and missed. 0-1.
You know, Dave Island, when I asked him about that, he says that he's a veteran guy that knows himself and knows his pitches, has command with him, and can, for the most part, put him where he wants him. And there's a lot to be said for that. That's calls for the fair catch. Well, he's not trying to develop new pitches. He's not trying to establish himself. I mean, he knows what he's got to do, and they go over that game plan with each other. And even watching the previous 3 games helps him a lot by watching what the other hitters are doing to the other pitchers. So really, that guy who gets that 3rd and 4th game has an extra bonus because he's been able to witness it himself and see what's going on, and then he can formulate his own game plan.
Switch hitter Marwin Gonzalez. 0-1. Luis Valbuena started the first 3 games at 3rd, and now Gonzalez, who has just 1 hit in 11 at-bats to begin the season. One and one. That pitch rides away. 2 balls, 1 strike on Gonzalez.
Gonzalez is a kind of guy you want to have on your team. He can play all over the place. A little bit of first base, shortstop, third. He's got good hands. He works hard. And his manager, A.J. Hinch, likes the versatility and what he can bring to the team. Hits from both sides of the plate. A little bit more pop from the left side.
Good changeup on 3-1. The Astros have seen some pretty good changeups the last 3 games from Medlin, Ventura, and Kennedy.
Yes, they have, and especially Ventura last night. That was his best pitch. Now, Kennedy in his previous start against Minnesota, he used all 4 of them all night long, so it was harder to establish what his better pitch was. But Ventura last time, for sure, the changeup. 3-2. Whenever he wanted to throw it, he could throw it for a strike. Medlin had a good one as well.
Infante throws out Gonzalez. 2 down. A lot of Royals fans here in Houston. The Royals love to see you on the road, and they can help you out if you want to go to places like Philadelphia, Boston, or New York City. Royals Destinations fan packages are available now. They include great game tickets, hotel accommodations, VIP ballpark tours, and a meet and greet reception with a Royals player. So many Royals fans will be in Oakland over the weekend. We'll be there tomorrow night, Saturday afternoon, and Sunday afternoon. And then the Royals are back home for a homestand beginning on Tuesday night. Jason Castro with 2 down and nobody on. Castro scored the tying run in the bottom of the 7th inning last night after Jose Altuve drove him home, but the Royals came right back in the 8th. Got that home run from Salvador Perez for a 4-2 lead, and that was the final. 1-2. The Astros hitters need a little more pine tar on the bat.
Yeah.
Losing grip.
They are, but you know, Kennedy so far, he's getting away with those pitches, those fastballs not over the plate on him. This is a fastball hitting team. He's going to have to continue to mix in the other ones just to keep them honest, because they will catch you. They're a powerful team.
Where's the pitch?
Man, that's right below the belt.
Either way.
Yep.
Right by him. So Kennedy needed just one more pitch. He has 3 hitless innings with 3 strikeouts. The Royals lead 1-0. Live in Texas, but our heart is in KC. There we go.
That's right.
1-0 Royals to the top of the 4th inning. Let's go to Joel, who has a very special guest.
Absolutely, and someone that used to report many years ago in Kansas City, the legendary NBA sideline reporter, more than just NBA too, Craig Sager, here in town catching the game. First off, thank you for joining us. And you know, things are so good in Kansas City with Royals baseball. You were there in the glory years, right?
Yeah, I started out in Fort Myers in like 1976, and I left Tampa, where as a weatherman, to go down there. And they said, I go, you know what? I'm leaving the 18th market to the 244th. It was like Fort Myers the last. And they go, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I eventually want to be a sports director in major, you know, city and station. They go, well, get off your ego trip of being in Tampa and go down there and work your ass off. And I said, okay. So I go down to Fort Myers, and they talk about they have this real young baseball team, the Royals, training there, and they got a guy that's going to be fantastic named George Brett. So I'm all excited, and so I show up in Fort Myers, sight and seat. I'd never been there.
Well, here's Lorenzo Cain, and
so I show up, and what happens? Major League Baseball goes on a strike. And so the spring training is canceled. And I don't know anybody. Nobody. And so I show up at their practice, which is now at Edison College. They don't have regular spring training games. And I don't know anybody. I don't recognize anybody. And there's a girl in the stands. And I go, can you please help me? And she goes, which way? I said, I don't recognize anybody. They don't have numbers on their back, their names. And she says, okay. And she goes, okay, you know, that's Willie Wilson. That's George Brett. That's Frank White. And I'm taking all these notes. And I finally go, who are you? And she goes, I'm Buck Martinez's wife. And so thank God she was there. because she pointed out the different players, and I got to meet everybody. And then, of course, the strike ended, and I started doing the play-by-play of the spring training games in Fort Myers to the Royals, and then we'd send that broadcast back, and then one thing led to another, and I'd go back to Kansas City, and finally I was trying to get a job there, and they wouldn't hire me, and we were at spring training, and the head boss at Channel 9, he had hired Bill McAtee in front of me, and Bill just used it as a stepping stone to go somewhere else, and I was like, I love the Royals, love baseball, this would be my goal. And so we're in the press box, and the guy comes in, and Whitey Herzog, this is before the game, we were eating, Whitey Herzog goes to the guy, he goes, why don't you hire Sager? And the guy's thinking, well, I might hire somebody from Fort Myers. And Whitey goes, listen, he works harder than anybody you got at your station. He knows everybody. If I'm here at 8 o'clock in the morning, he's 7:30. You ought to hire Sager. And so one thing led to another, and Whitey convinced them, and because of Whitey, they took me back, and I joined, the staff in Kansas City. That was in '79, and even to this day, when I see Whitey, I always say, because of Whitey, I made it to Kansas City. Damn right it is. Without me, it'd still be in Fort Myers. And I go, yeah, Whitey, you're right.
Well, and it's gone on to be an incredible career, and I'm sure, because I already saw it tonight, you're wearing some very colorful shorts. Everybody, no matter where you go, and there we see Altuve. Everybody asks about the clothes, and we're going to come back and talk about that in just a moment. The greatest dressed guy in basketball. Stay with us. Still joined by the legendary reporter Craig Sager. We're seeing a lot of pictures, an incredible wardrobe. I'm asked all the time about being in the Gatorade baths that our catcher Salvador Perez has, and everybody's worried about my dry cleaning. I know you're asked about your attire everywhere you go. And even recently I saw, as you're fighting your battle, I saw NBA reporters all doing their tribute, dressing up on the sidelines. How did this all start?
Well, I was in Florida, and I was trying to get a job on TV, and I really didn't have any clothes, and I did do a demo tape. So I went to a thrift shop in Sarasota, Florida. That's not like going to a Goodwill store in the middle of, some urban city. This is Sarasota. I mean, you got a lot of wealthy people down there, and they're donating, golf clothes and stuff that they had, and you had some high, fabric material out there. And I ran into this suit I loved. It was a seersucker suit, white, blue, and yellow. And it was a suit, and I love that thing. So I memorized the Golden Guide to Weather, went up and did my audition tape, and I nailed it. I could BS about cumulus clouds and cirrus and whatever you wanted to know. And they said, well, your audition tape was great, but on the map, whenever you'd point to a certain area in the country doing weather, all we saw was this blur like a paintbrush with yellow, white, and blue. You can't wear stuff like that. And I go, why not? They go, our cameras aren't sophisticated to pick up the colors. I thought, man. And I was so disappointed, but I love that suit. And so then I'm doing weather. You know, why not be lively? You know, so I just started wearing all the bright colors, and I go to Fort Myers, same thing, you know, golf area, and I started wearing a lot of blue because of the Royals. And I went to Kansas City, and, you know, the winter months and all, they're kind of more conservative and wanted me to dress a little straighter, but I always got away with wearing blue, you know, for the Royals. I was doing the Kings play-by-play in NBA, and I was doing some Chiefs preseason, so I throw in some reds, some other colors, but I always would wear some type of blue. And then I go to CNN, and they want to, oh, we got to really be conservative. We're trying to establish our name, compete with Wall Street, and they kind of would taper me down, and got the opportunity to do football, and so I'd liven up, and I'd wear different clothes. And then NBA, same thing. I hated to be dull, like you can see right now.
Here we go. I don't know if you guys can get a shot, but he's just wearing some very, you know, basic shorts. You know, just the run of the mill. Okay, so even on an off day, we know that you're wearing that. I'm wondering if you got this from your good buddy Mike Swanson, the now Royals vice president.
Well, when I moved to Kansas City, his dad had a sport coat, and it was really lively, bright colors, and he had given it to Swanee to wear, and I didn't have much in his way of a wardrobe, so I used to wear all that. So I used to wear Swanee's dad stuff. And speaking of Swanee, what a great guy. I mean, we had a great time in Kansas City and all, but he wasn't quite the most responsible when it came to paying the rent.
Uh-oh.
And his mom had worked for the Chiefs. She was a secretary. And so she gave us this wicker furniture that we had in our living room. So one time rent was due, and I go to Swanee, I go, hey, I need your share of the rent. He goes, well, I don't have it. You take the furniture. I go, what do you mean I take the furniture? He goes, you can have that wicker sofa and chair. I said, well, we already have that. It's our room. He goes, yeah, but my mom gave it to us. Use that as my share of the rent. I said, you're giving me our furniture your mom gave you as your share of the rent. He goes, that's all I got. I go, okay, Swanee, that's all you got this month. Let's see if we can do better next month.
Yeah, Ryan, that would be Mike Swanson on line one right now. Nice job by Lorenzo Cain with the running catch in center field. Before we get out of here, and then this inning possibly ends, how did you end up in the middle of Hank Aaron's historic home run? If you were in a major market not till later, we showed a picture of you recently right in the middle of all that.
I was in Sarasota, Florida, working for WSPB Radio, getting $95 a week. Big baseball fan, grew up idolizing Ernie Banks, Hank Aaron, and I told my boss, we were an affiliate of the Braves radio network, I said, I want to go up there, he's going to hit the home run, you know, the whole build-up. I said, do it Monday, and my boss said, you can go, but you're on your own, and you better be back by drive time tomorrow in the morning, or you're fired. And Eastern and National had flights. There's a 5 o'clock flight Tuesday morning, so I wanted to be there. I flew up there. It was a cold, cool day. They didn't have a seat for me in the press box. All the photographers and other people were on the first base side because he's obviously right-handed batter. So, long story short, I'm on the third base side. Instinctively, I just ran out there with my tape recorder, and I was doing play-by-play, and I got all that sound, and that sound right now is in the Hall of Fame, and I got a lifetime pass.
An honor to have you. From all of us in Kansas City and around the world, we wish you the best of health.
No problem. I'm glad to be out of the hospital today after my chemo, and what better place to be than an outdoor baseball game, seeing the most exciting team in baseball and seeing my Royals and the Royal Blue here just for you.
Amen to that. The legendary Craig Sager, what a visit. We've got more baseball coming up from Houston.
1-0 Royals as they bat in the top of the 5th inning. Alex Gordon takes inside. And Doug Fister, who allowed 1 run, 3 hits in the 1st inning, including the Mike Moustakas home run, has now set down 10 in a row. However, many of those were hard hit outs, like Alex Gordon lining out to the 3rd baseman Gonzalez in the 2nd inning.
He can duplicate that stroke. He has a clean knock here.
1-2. Great to hear from Craig Sager. And he mentioned at the end of his interview with Joel that he is here doing chemotherapy. He is fighting leukemia for the 2nd time. And like a lot of people, I only know him from doing basketball and was not aware before this year of his Kansas City roots. Alex is down on strikes. And that is the 2nd strikeout for Fister. But I always wondered about him getting on the field for the Hank Aaron home run. And how about that? He's just working in Sarasota. He got a credential. And unlike a lot of younger, new to the business reporters that kind of just, wait and follow everyone else when a big moment happens, he just took the initiative and ran right to home plate as Hank Aaron was crossing home.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's what you want to do if you're young. You have to be aggressive. You have to, you have to assert yourself. I love the stories. I could listen to him all day. He's got the tape recorder right in his right hand.
He's ready. I mean, yeah. Hank Aaron just touched home plate. He's ready to do an interview with him.
Yeah, he's on it.
That's great.
Yeah, he's
I just assume, with CNN and Turner being based in Atlanta, and that happened in Atlanta, that, that's just where he came from and had been there for a long time. I was not aware of the stop in Fort Myers and getting to know the Royals. And how about Whitey Herzog helping him get his job in Kansas City?
He had a good Whitey imitation as well.
2 balls and 2 strikes on Salvador Perez. He grounded out to 3rd in the 2nd inning. No appeal. He did not go. He's been busy tonight. He leaves his feet to take care of that line drive from Salvador Perez. So that's 12 straight set down by Fister since the 1st inning.
I love Goldberg's interview with Salvi last night after the game. Salvi said, I don't know the guy. I never knew him. Never seen the guy before. He just left a little slider out over the middle. And lots of times you face hitters or pitchers that you've never seen before, vice versa. And so you're just going to try to stay on your game and see what you can get. And he got a nice little slider that was elevated. Won a game.
Infante grounded out to 3rd his first time. Little bloop, and Altuve's out to make the play. So the Royals were hitting rockets all over the place in the 1st inning, and now Doug Fister has set down the last 13. to the bottom of the 5th inning. Ian Kennedy has pitched 4 hitless innings. Toyota League leaders go back to 2010. And you look at the most seasons with at least 30 starts in the National League. Only Ian Kennedy has had 6 straight. That's more than Clayton Kershaw, Madison Bumgarner, Cole Hamels, who's now in the American League, and Giovanni Gallardo, also in the American League. Kennedy has faced 12 and retired 11.
He's doing the same thing he did against the Twins. It's hard for any hitters to really set on a certain pitch. You have to zone him. And then when he gets in that zone, try to put a swing on it. Just missed that one.
That's the only man to reach tonight against Ian is Kobe Rasmus, who walked leading off the 2nd inning, and now he flies out to Lorenzo Cain.
Comic-Con fans, join us at the ballpark for the first Planet Comic-Con Kansas City Day at the K on April 24th versus the Orioles. Your themed ticket comes with a Planet Comic-Con themed Royal shirt and game ticket. Cosplay is also encouraged. You come dressed in your costume of your favorite character, and you can purchase tickets now at royals.com/theme tickets.
You're a Comic-Con go-to guy.
Yeah, I like that. Thanks for letting me in.
Kennedy has struck out 4. He got White on the front end of a strikeout throw-out double play. So with that, Kennedy has allowed a base runner, but he's only faced the minimum in 4 1/3 innings. A lot of room to center field in this ballpark, and it's not going to carry as much with the roof closed. So White might have a little different result playing somewhere else, hitting a ball like that to straightaway center field. And there are 2 down. Well, this is a number that's going to frustrate a lot of Astros fans. That's Vince Velasquez, who pitched a shutout against San Diego. 16 strikeouts, no walks. And the reason I say that'll frustrate Astros fans is that he was an Astro and was traded during the offseason with Brett Oberholzer and others in the deal that brought Ken Giles to Houston. And Giles has really struggled. He gave up the home run to Salvador Perez last night. He's given up 3 home runs in 3 1/3 innings. So you know that they were screaming all day on talk radio and on Twitter over that.
Happens to every team. But you know, you got to make the moves that you think's best for your club. And for Houston, they needed another strong closer or a guy who to back into their pen. Hasn't worked out yet, but it's early.
2 bits of history in that game. Number 1, with the shutout. That's the 5th time in 10 games the Padres have been shut out. That's a major league record. And Velasquez becomes just the 7th player in history with 16 strikeouts and no walks. Ian Kennedy's retired the last 11. 5 hitless innings for him and 5 strikeouts. 1-0 Royals. Royals on the Mike Moustakas home run in the top of the first inning. And before we get to the top of the sixth, here's our Sprint trivia question. Kendrys Morales hit 4 home runs in the 2015 postseason. We're the only 2 switch hitters with more than 4 in a single postseason. Paulo Orlando will lead off against Doug Fister, followed by Alcides Escobar and Mike Moustakas. Paulo flied to left his first time up. The Royals are trying to get something going against Doug Fister, who has set down the last 13 Royals. And now 1 ball and 1 strike. Fister has struck out 2. He's not a big strikeout pitcher. He is a contact pitcher, but if you've been following the Royals, you might remember a start that he made in 2012 when he set an American League record against the Royals with 9 consecutive strikeouts. And that ended when Salvador Perez grounded out. 9 up, 9 down, all strikeouts. Little bloop, right center field, and that's down. So that snaps the string. And the Royals have great speed at first. And Paulo Orlando to begin the 6th inning.
That's the formula right there. Hit it soft. Too many line shots tonight off of Royals bats have been caught on the line. Great defensive placement by the Astros, but that's how you do it. Little jam shot, flare it out there, get something going.
So Fister's been pitching out of the stretch since the beginning of the 2nd inning. Or pitching out of the windup since the beginning of the 2nd inning. Now back to the stretch. That's hit well to right field. Orlando was running, and Springer fades back to make the play. Didn't get much on the throw. So Fister has had a good game to this point. Don't want to take anything away from him. Anytime you retire 13 in a row, that's saying something, but he is hardly fooling the Royals tonight.
Just a matter of time. Wait him out. Those hits will start to follow, but they're making some good contact on him. And it seems like his quick tempo that he hasn't affected the Royals much. And when a guy like that gets going fast, you just step out on him. Slow playing.
Mike Moustakas with 1 out in the 1st inning turned in a ram drive of the game.
Nice easy swing too. Wasn't trying to do it.
Fister's got to figure out a way to pitch Moustakas. He pitched him in. Moustakas homer to right. He pitched him away and he lined to left.
Yeah, and in the previous games here, they've all been trying to get him out inside. It's not working. Moose has hit the ball at some people. He could easily have 4 or 5 more hits on this trip.
And now he goes to center field, but he got underneath it. Carlos Gomez jogs up. 2 down.
What a different sight for the fielders to look up and see a dark sky and a nice little white ball up there instead of the roof.
Roof is open for the first time in this series. Very, very pleasant night downtown Houston. So leadoff man on, but Paulo Orlando is still standing at first with 2 down. 75 degrees with a nice cool breeze out of the northwest. When was the last time you were in Houston and it was 75 degrees with a cool breeze out of the northwest?
Never. Perfect time of year here.
It's into right center field, and Springer lost it. Talking about the lights, Kane will be held. Gomez goes all the way to the plate, and Lorenzo Cain moves up to second base. Well, we talked about it a lot on Monday, and up until that play, the lights really weren't a factor, but the Royals were really concerned, especially the outfielders, about those bright lights.
Yep, Lorenzo Cain saw the play in front of him. I like his read. Paulo was really flying around the bases. Jersley could have possibly scored him, but this throw here, as he overthrew it, and you can see he just lost it. And as bright as it is out there, I'm not surprised. But it was a good move for Jersh to hold him, and then for Lorenzo to read the throw that was over the cutoff man's head and advance into second base. So now, lousy single could score them both. I don't know.
Slider is inside.
I don't know who I heard this from, but I heard that Kauffman Stadium are thinking about putting these LED lights in there. Maybe possibly for next season, we'll have to get a little bit more on that.
The difference will be at Kauffman Stadium is that because these lights have to be so low to accommodate the roof, the Kauffman Stadium lights will be much higher. And it shouldn't cause the same problems like they do here. Hosmer, deep center field. Gomez is back. That is over his head, and the Royals will get those 2 runs. Orlando and Cain score, and Eric Hosmer have a series. 2 hits tonight, 8 in the 4-game series, and the Royals lead is 3-0.
Oh, that was beautiful. Hosmer, like I mentioned earlier, using the whole field, keeping his hands inside the ball. That ball's in the outer half of the plate. He's dangerous away. No wonder they tried to get him out inside and to jam him. But then Gomez, he absolutely had no chance on that.
So the Royals, who have not been their normal selves, hitting with runners in scoring position, and especially runners in scoring position with 2 outs. Eric Hosmer puts an end to that. He comes up big, driving in his 3rd and 4th runs of the year, and now he's out there for Kendrys Morales. The Royals entered the game tonight just 1 for their last 30 with runners in scoring position, and remember, they were 2nd best in the major leagues in that category last year.
They'll pick it up. They're doing what it takes to win games now early for Ned Yost. That's all they want to do. It's all about the W's. Getting back to those lights, Ryan, if you look at these LED lights at all for just a little bit of a split second, you look up in them, and then you look down, you blink, and you see white dots. That's what makes it so dangerous. It's not just the initial losing that ball, but it's how long those dots stay in your eyes. That's how bright that is. It's not easy, and Springer has been the one outfielder that's had the most difficulty here.
Alex Gordon told me before the game exactly what you said. He says, as I'm positioning myself with each batter, I will look up to see where I am in relation to the lights. He says he can't do that here because they're so bright. Because if the next pitch is thrown to him, he's, like you said, he still has those white flashes in his eyes. But they're energy efficient. You can turn them on like a light in your house. You flip the switch and they're on right now, as opposed to the old big lamp lights that take 15 or 20 minutes to warm up. That ball's hit well to center field. Gomez is back, and he won't get that one. It is a 3-run 6th inning. Morales drives in Hosmer, and the Royals lead is 4-0. As you said, Hud, eventually those hard hit balls were going to find some grass.
Better believe it. And that's the first hit with a runner in scoring position for the dangerous designated hitter this season. Timely. That ball was crushed right down the middle. Not going to miss that. That's a little above batting practice speed, as we talked about Fister's inability to have the same velocity that he's had in the previous years. And when you leave him out over the middle of the plate like that, they get hit.
Morales is moving up on milestones, and with that double, he is now 1 RBI shy of 500 for his career, and now he's just 6 doubles away from 200 in that category. And now Alex Gordon can drive him home. Alex has one of the hardest hit balls tonight when he lined out to Gonzalez in the second inning. Breaking balls a little bit inside, and Pfister's behind 2 balls and no strikes.
He took 3 fastballs right down the middle. Wasn't able to swing at any of them.
A little different plan.
Yeah, maybe he's going to be a little more aggressive.
There it is. Alex digs for second. That's 3 consecutive extra base hits. It is now a 4-run 6th inning. The Royals lead 5-0, and with the way Kennedy's pitching tonight, that mountain gets steeper and steeper for A.J. Hinch and the Astros. And now, Let's Go Royals breaks out inside Minute Maid Park.
There it is. Alex puts his head down because he knew that once he made contact, that ball was going to get past Springer out there and got himself a nice double. So a little frenzy hitting breaking out here for the Royals in the 6th inning, and it's timely.
And a reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, to look forward to Miller Time later in tonight's game, brought to you by Miller Lite. Well, again, Pfister retired 13 in a row from the end of the 1st inning through the 5th. But on my scorecard, 1, 2, 3, 4 of those were hard hit. And there was only 1 strikeout during that stretch. So the Royals, for the most part, were on him. And now they have come up with 4 runs on 5 hits in this 6th inning. Now Salvi, center field, that's down. Alex rounds third. Gomez throw is wild. Make it 5 in the 6th inning. 5 straight hits. And the Royals lead is now 6-0. And A.J. Hinch is already out of the first base dugout.
Hard to stop them once they get going. Very nice to see. Haven't seen this in any of the games so far this year. I'm bunching that frenzy style hitting together, and it really works. They just get contagious. That ball's off the end of the bat, which is good, really. If he squares that up, he lines it to the center fielder. Yeah, they got him out of there.
Chris Davinsky, he was a handful last night. He comes on with 2 down and a Chevy call to the bullpen. Began, the Royals had 1 run, 3 hits. Now they have 6 runs, 9 hits. Salvador Perez drives in Alex Gordon. Now Chris Davinsky, who is very impressive last night, he will pitch to Omar Infante, who is the 9th Royal to come up in this 5-run 6th inning. Infante, line drive, base hit left field. Davinsky last night faced 3 and struck out 3, but now the Royals have seen him. They've probably shared some information with one another, and Infante jumps on the first pitch.
Yeah, and he's first pitch fastball looking, because you want to swing early, because this guy has a devastating changeup. I mean, a changeup that he throws, it looks like it's got a parachute attached. It just really falls down and into righties, and that's a good stroke. His teammates, he's got a nickname called the Dragon. And the reason they call him the Dragon is because in AAA and in the minors, he seemed fearless. He would just go out there and execute his pitches. Challenge hitters. The Dragon.
That's original. I haven't heard
I like it.
That nickname used for a player. This inning started with a Paul Orlando base hit to right field. Down in the count, no balls and 2 strikes. The play that really got this inning going was Lorenzo Cain's base hit to right field, which George Springer lost in the lights. Otherwise, Doug Fister faces only 4 batters, and the Royals don't score any runs.
Whether it's an error by the opponents or a play like that, the Royals seem to always capitalize on that. Not all the time, but most of the time they do that. There's 2 friends hanging out.
Center field, that's well hit. Gomez is back. He's got it. 10 come to the plate. Royals take full advantage of that ball being lost in the lights. What could have been a scoreless 6th inning is a 5-run 6th inning and a 6-0 lead. Get a 1-0 lead. Eric Hosmer drove in 2 runs. Alex Gordon drove in a run. Kendrys Morales and Salvador Perez drove in runs for a 5-run 6th inning to give Kennedy some more breathing room. Although the way he's pitched tonight, 1 run might hold up. He has set down 11 straight. He has retired 14 out of 15 tonight. Carlos Gomez leads off the 6th. That is the first hit for the Astros. and just their second base runner. Now Panera takes us around the league. Take a look at what's going on inside the division. Detroit beat Pittsburgh 7-4. Tigers are 6-2 to match the Royals for the time being. Cleveland shut out Tampa Bay, but behind the effort of Danny Salazar, Cleveland is 4-3. Minnesota is 0-9. And the same with the Atlanta Braves.
And the Twins get the Angels next. And the Angels are pretty hot right now. They've been winning some games. Angels currently are in first place in the West. They've won 4 straight. So that's not good news for the Twins. The Angels continue to stay hot.
So now Kennedy, who's worked very little tonight out of the stretch. You got Marwin Gonzalez to ground out to second base in the 3rd inning. Good breaking ball down and in. Good spot for a left-hand batter. 0-2. Fox Tracks presented by Missouri Lottery. That's a perfect spot to a left-hand batter.
Sure is. Down enough to where it's not in his wheelhouse. A lot of lefties like it down, but not that far down. And with the depth on the break there, with his curve, it fooled Marlin. What Cedarstrom wants here.
That had all the looks of wanting to inspect the baseball or inspect his glove or something.
Did.
But he didn't check anything out. But he said something to Ian Kennedy.
That Ned came up to the top step there. And like, hey, look, do I need to see what this is about? But he stepped back down. Ned not wanting to disrupt the flow of the game.
Sometimes in years past they might warn a pitcher about blowing into his hand if it's not a cool night and he's standing on the dirt. The old rule was if a pitcher would blow into his hand for some moisture or if it was cold, he had to be off the dirt, and then they'd make exceptions if it was a cold day and they could do it on the dirt. They got rid of that rule. Pitchers can do that all the time now.
Interesting. See where his right hand is with the ball, in front of his leg, not in back of his leg. He does that on purpose. And look at, he holds that grip there with the changeup grip there, and that's really going to deceive the hitter because he comes back with a fastball there. So anytime a pitcher shows the ball to the hitter, he's really watching that ball, and sometimes pitchers play off of that mentality.
Still 1 ball, 2 strikes. Now, if Kennedy had done something like instead of blowing in his hand, if he went to his mouth with his fingers and right to the ball, that's a ball.
Right. And if Cedarstrom saw it, he would tell home plate umpire that's a ball.
So you don't get a warning for that.
No, and then probably Ned would have come out.
So interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what that was about. We'll find out later.
Still 1-2 on Gonzalez.
Kennedy uses all 4 quadrants of the strike zone, and when he throws that big curve up there, it's a lot slower. It starts up in that high fastball plane, and then he'll sneak a fastball in that same angle up, and sometimes that'll deceive the hitter. But Gonzalez, he's up there hacking. He's swinging at everything.
Check and see if he'll check that, if he'll chase that pitch.
All right.
As you say, sometimes a hitter gets into swing mode and they'll swing at anything.
And just kind of, make that zone a little bit bigger.
Shallow center. Kane coming in. Escobar! Chance for two. No way!
Wow! That is
only in Kansas City.
Yeah, that, as Hosmer would say, is gold to gold crime. Wow. How about the concentration going back on the ball? Ball wasn't hit high, so Kane didn't have a chance to get to it. Escobar judges it perfectly like a receiver in the end zone, but has the alertness. Look at how quick he got up. Transfer Haas over there. That's the play of the year so far for the Royals and that wonderful defense they play.
Look at Hosmer celebrating before first base umpire Adrian Johnson called him out.
Now that's a cap tip right there.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a wow. Oh, way to go, Esky.
Just another little 6-3 on your scorecard.
That's right.
Watch Hosmer. Welcome to the Royals, Ian Kennedy.
That's right.
I mean, it's a comfortable lead. It's 6-0, and yet, you know, the Astros are trying to do something, and that ball drops. 2 on, nobody out. Who knows? Maybe they get a run or two in this inning and make it a game again. But with a play like that, 2 down, nobody on. And now Paulo Orlando made that look routine. So Kennedy, thanks to another double play, this one is one of the best you will ever see if you live to be 120. And Kennedy has still faced a minimum through 6 innings. Who made one of the best plays of his life will lead off the top of the 7th inning, and that's saying something.
And how many times do we see that?
Wow. For being our Sonic Slam inning contestant, Sue Ann Wright from Shawnee Mission will receive 2 tickets to a future Royals game and a $10 reloadable My Sonic card. Don't forget to drop into a participating Kansas City or St. Joe Sonic Drive-In. Register for the Sonic Slam inning and your chance to win $25,000.
Well, I guess Escobar's play didn't in the inning, but lots of times we see a guy makes a great play and then he leads off the next inning. But look, that play will stick in your mind for a long time. Amazing how little time it took for him to hit the ground, catch it, and get up on his feet and throw a dart.
Make an accurate throw.
Oh, right on it. Watch this. I mean, look at, he was moving. He was out in center field. It wasn't shallow. I mean, it wasn't right in back of the cutout of the dirt either.
Let's, hey, Joe Vencius, let's watch that again. Let's how many guys can slide like Escobar did on the grass and get to their feet without using their hands to brace themselves and get up? I mean, if you slide as a runner, you got to use your hands to get back up again. Watch this.
We showed Escobar on the slide. We showed him on a slide at the third base how he doesn't even use his hands. He's just so agile.
You know, maybe a little bit with his right elbow, but I mean, he just used his momentum and somehow popped up on his feet.
Some kind of athlete, and proud to be wearing the Gold Glove for the first time all this season.
First strikeout for Davinsky, so Escobar is 0 for 4 at the plate. And now Davinsky has faced 6 Royals the last 2 nights and struck out 4.
He's got the fastball to go 88 to 93, 94, and then that great changeup, and then he'll mix in a few curveballs too. He's got 3 pitches.
Look at that movement on his fastball. I mean, it's just the lateral movement on it. Talked about Davinsky last night, a 25th round draft pick of the White Sox. And with their bullpen issues, you think they'd like to have him back right now?
Yep, and he was a starter for a good bit of his minor league career, and they found a role for him down there, and he's got the nickname Dragon because he's aggressive and he attacks hitters. He's got good mound presence, and taking a page from Fister, works quickly. Nice tempo.
Moustakas takes a walk with 1 down. Remember to vote for the Royals Player of the Month at one of the 7 Rally House locations in the KC metro area. All participants will be entered to win a majestic prize pack. Lorenzo Cain, he had the key hit in the Royals' 5-run 6th inning. Takes outside from Davinsky. Lorenzo has 2 hits tonight. The Royals had Orlando at first base and 2 outs. A 1-0 game in the 6th, and Cain hit a flare into right field that looked like it was going to be caught by Springer and would have ended the inning. That ball got up into those bright LED lights. Springer didn't see it. The ball dropped, and that was the beginning of a 5-run 6th inning. They first charged Springer with an error, and then I think somebody got to the official score and said it may not have been pretty, but you can't catch what you don't see.
Well, in the previous 3 games, we saw Springer didn't lose a ball in the lights, but he acted like he was guarding against that. And that's going to stay in his mind, in the back of his mind, in all the home games here. So that's something that's not going to go away. He's going to have to just do the best he can to get through it.
Marwin Gonzalez, man, he's got a target in his glove tonight.
You know, and maybe there's a situation where Springer can use the flip down sunglasses. And that means those are the ones that stay up below the bill of your cap. When the ball's hit, you flip them down real quick, and that'll help him take the glare off. Maybe that's what he's going to have to do. There's nothing wrong with those.
Because there is a lot of glare coming off those lights.
I'm going to try something if I'm Springer. I don't want to hurt my pitcher.
Ooh, Hosmer just missed it. And Gonzalez, who's been busy, makes the play. And that's that. Hosmer has driven in 2 of the 6 runs tonight with 2 hits. Stretch time in Houston. The Royals lead 6-0. Great night for the Royals as they try to take 3 out of 4 from the Astros in Houston. Ian Kennedy has given up 1 hit in 6 innings. The Royals are 5 for 7 with runners in scoring position, but with the way Kennedy's going right now, they've only needed that 1 run they got in the first.
Yeah, they're you know, he's staying in the middle of the plate, but he's down and up. He's not exactly in the very middle. And look, when you have a defense like that, you pitch to contact. Same thing Edison Volquez discovered last season when he started making his starts for the Royals for the first time. He couldn't believe the double plays they were turning for him, and it really gives the starting pitcher a boost of confidence.
As a Royal, Ian Kennedy in 2 starts has pitched 12 2/3 innings and has given up 0 runs with 1 walk and 12 strikeouts. So Kia puts us in the driver's seat, and Ian Kennedy is certainly in the driver's seat, pitching with a 6-run lead. They get the top of the order in the 7th inning. He has faced the minimum through 6, by the way, thanks to the 2 double plays. Altuve hits it well to right center field. Paulo Orlando is back, and Jose Altuve, little Jose Altuve, goes to the opposite field. That is his 2nd home run of the series, and it puts the Astros on the board. So it takes them 19 hitters to score their first run tonight.
Yeah, and that pitch was down and out over the plate, but what a great swing. I mean, he stayed down on it, and it almost looked like he knew that pitch was coming, and he put his A swing on it. Ball had some backspin on it, is the reason it carried out. A little surprised it went that far, and so was Kennedy. Looked like an off on contact. Paulo, with his great speed, would have run it down, but he ran out of the room.
4 home runs for Altuve this year, 2 in this series, and the 2 home runs have been impressive. I don't care if you're 5'6" or you're 6'6".
Exactly.
He's hit his 2 home runs the last 2 nights.
He's a very energetic, exciting player.
One and 2 on Springer. He's been victimized by the lights on defense and by the Royals defense at the plate. He is lined to third, and he lost a hit on a good play by Kane in center field in the 4th inning.
Yeah, on Joel's pregame show, he had Dave Island talking about that lower part of the strike zone that they worked on in spring training to try to keep it down, although his numbers in the spring weren't that good. However, he's been able to move that forward into the regular season, and he's working more 2-seamers down instead of that 4-seamer that he used to strike guys out above the belt.
And 2 on Springer. Good spot for him. He's at times a wild swinger. Kennedy in 6+ innings has given up a walk, a single, and a home run. That's it.
Right at 80 pitches. Wonderful job.
And he could pitch into tomorrow night if he needed to.
Telling you, that defense behind him, saving his pitch count. Double play is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, Kennedy, he's not happy he gave up the home run, but if he's going to give up a home run, you make the leadoff guy hit it out of the ballpark. You know, a home run can also kill a rally, and the Royals have a 6-run lead. Let's see how far you can hit it.
That's right, and that's exactly a pitcher's mindset when he gets 6 runs. Ball's going to make it out of the stands.
You know, interesting stat on him. Kennedy allowed a lot of home runs last year. He gave up 31, but when you look closer, 18 of the 31 home runs came with no outs in the inning. Good time to give up home runs because it's only worth 1 run.
You're right.
So it sounds like a big number, and it is, but not a lot of damage. with those 31 home runs allowed. Springer showing good plate discipline. It's Kennedy's second walk, and Springer is on with nobody out. Let's go to Joel.
Well, you guys saw the interview with Craig Sager a little while ago. For those just tuning in, we had a chance to visit with the legendary announcer, sideline reporter of the NBA as he battles for his life, and in town for treatments as he battles leukemia. And he told the story about his former roommate from many, many years ago, Mike Swanson, Swanee, the Royals vice president of broadcast communications, and said that when they were roommates many, many years ago, that Swanee had no money and he was trying to use some of the wicker furniture that his mother had given him for his share of the rent. Swanee informs me that there's an addendum to that story. He said, "Dad's loud old sport coat was the previous month's rent. I was tending bar at the time. We roomed together and not doing too well." I think it's safe to say both of those men have a lot of stories about each other, and I will just add my 2 cents. First time that I ever had to meet Craig, but for what I do, he is as good as anyone in the business, maybe the greatest ever, and I don't know that you could have ever possibly met a nicer man, a more genuine man, a guy that is battling for his life and wanted to say hi, take pictures, and ask anyone that he came into contact with, "How are you doing? What do you do? What's your story?" Absolutely unbelievable.
Great piece, Joe. Great, excellent job.
Paulo Orlando coming up. Going to try for a force at second base. Got him. It's a defensive clinic for the Royals tonight.
Lots of times outfielders know before the base runner if he's going to be able to catch the ball or not. So sometimes when you put your glove up, that'll freeze that runner. Now, Springer had to hold tight. Paulo with that great closing speed, he respected it, and then one hopper, perfect throw on a hop, and Escobar becomes a first baseman. Watch his stride. Look at him go out there and stretch. Beauty. Not much Springer could have done there. If you get too far off and then he catches the ball, then he throws you out at first.
That's huge, because if that ball drops for a hit, it's a 9-6 force out. If it drops for a hit, now here's Rasmus, who has just torn the Royals to pieces the last 2 years. If he goes deep, now you're talking about a 2-run game. Kennedy can turn his attention to maybe getting a ground ball in an inning double play. So good throws by Orlando in this inning and Escobar last inning, but you also have to credit the field awareness. One and one to Rasmus. He is walked and flied out to center field. And one strike. Got away from Salvi. Correa didn't read it right away, and no sense in taking a risk down by 5 runs.
Absolutely not. You're not going to do that down by 5, especially with the power they got. The agility for a big man is amazing to watch Salvi move.
Ball 2-2. Kennedy's now at 90 pitches. He threw 109 on Saturday against Minnesota.
Found out those little tags that are hanging around his neck. They kind of look like some kind of military tags or something, but those are tags that have the name of his children on.
Ausmus strikes out. And that's 6 for Kennedy. Well, it's going to take a lot for Kennedy because he has 4 little girls.
Yeah, if Kennedy, if he had those dog tags in, they'd be just jingling all over his neck. But I'm sure they're watching back home as their daddy is mowing a very powerful lineup down.
Danny Duffy warms up just in case. Well, he's hot.
You know, and the good thing about it, if the Royals can hang on for a few more innings and leave town, the Houston Astros, they'll be due for some wins, and the Detroit Tigers hopefully will be the recipient of those losses.
Tigers are here tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday. And then the Tigers will go to Kansas City and play the Royals. One and one on Tyler White. He struck out. And to strike him out, throw him out, double play in the second inning, and then fly to deep center in the 5th. This is the first time all night that Kennedy has thrown 20 or more pitches. It's the first time he's thrown more than 15 pitches in a half inning.
Extremely efficient, but you know, one of the successes that the Royals, at least the last 2 nights, have had, even Medley, is the ability to pitch inside, to knock them off the plate. The 2-seam fastballs. We saw Ventura with a couple of bow ties last night, as Nolan Ryan would say. And then this at bat here, one of the first pitches is in, back wide off the plate. That sets up good breaking stuff down and away. Powerful teams, you got to pitch them inside. You got to back them off the plate. A lot like the Royals did against the Blue Jays.
2-2.
Kid White has a really good inside-out swing. He's trying to use the whole field. The swings he's had in this at-bat here have all been inside-out. So Kennedy continuing to let him know that he can't have both sides of the plate.
Correa will be running. Strike him out. 7 strikeouts. So Kennedy has struck out 7 in each of his first 2 starts as a Royal. He's given up 1 run in 7 innings.
Woo-hoo! That heater looks nice.
Baseball is brought to you by your local Kansas City area Chevy dealers. Visit for great prices on the all-new 2016 Malibu. By Panera Bread, food as it should be with 24 Kansas City metro locations. And by Academy Sports and Outdoors, right stuff, low price every day. Tony Sipp is on for the 8th inning. The Royals lead 6-1. They scored 5, all with 2 outs in the 6th inning, sending 10 to the plate. All charged to Doug Fister. Chris Davinsky was in relief of him, and now a Chevy call to the bullpen for Tony Sipp. He'll get Kendrys Morales, Alex Gordon, and Salvador Perez.
Sipp will go 88 to 93 with a late tailing fastball, slider, and a changeup to righties. There was one there, just kind of slipped out. So far this year, Morales doing damage from both sides of the plate. Last year we saw him mainly do it from the left side of the plate. He's getting that right-handed swing down.
And from this side of the plate on Monday night, he took Tony Sipp deep. I say deep, I mean deep. Way up into those signage panels in left center field. So Sipp goes off speed here. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Ooh, man. You know, whenever a hitter takes 1, 2, 3 steps out of the box like that, he knows he got it.
Right before Morales hit that home run, we were reminding you that it was Morales against Sipp in the biggest play of Game 4 of the division series. The misplay by Correa, which could have been an inning double play, instead tied the game. The Royals added a run in the 8th and then 2 more in the 9th. And Morales is down on strikes. He is 1 for 4 tonight. And there's one away in the 8th inning. Let's answer our sprint trivia question for tonight. Morales hit 4 home runs in last year's postseason. We were the only 2 switch hitters with more than 4 in a single postseason.
Chipper Jones, Eddie Murray,
Mickey Mantle, Nafy Perez,
Chili Davis. I thought they were going to give us the answer. I guess we got to wait another day. I think, are we close? Wow.
A hint is he played for the Astros. Lance Berkman.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, I know who it is.
Big Puma.
No. A former Royal who played for the Astros. Carlos Beltran.
Oh.
And Bernie Williams, 6. Beltran, 8.
Bernie Williams. That would have been a good guess.
Beltran made a lot of money after that 2004 postseason. That was the year he was traded from the Royals to the Astros. And the deal where the Royals received a 3-team deal. Salvador Perez takes inside. A 3-team deal that involved the A's and the Astros. The Royals got John Buck from the Astros and Mark Teahan and Mike Wood, a pitcher from the A's. Salvador Perez is using Omar Infante's bat. That'll be back into the crowd. 1 ball and 1 strike. Why not? Omar's had a good start to the season.
He has.
Go
with it.
Joel can do some exhaustive research tomorrow and find out why.
Most hitters, you know, they're pretty selfish with their bats, although not the Royals. They're willing to share.
back our way. 1-2.
Yeah, there's a little Omar Infante signature right there at the top. Oh, it's actually printed. Back in the day when just Louisville Slugger had it, you signed a bat contract, you signed 3 or 4 different pieces of paper, and you sent it to them, and they duplicated your signature on the bat. It's pretty cool.
Just got a piece of it. Now, what does Omar have on his bat? It looks like a different model. Does he have a Salvador Perez bat? All right, it's just a different Omar Infante bat. Sometimes, you know, hitters will say, hey, let me try your bat. Right. Well, let me try your bat. Got a chance with that part of the ballpark. Rasmus at the wall. He's got room. The next Royals homestand is coming up soon. Don't miss out with the Royals home for 6 against the Tigers and the Orioles. Great seats are still available, so don't make the mistake of thinking, coming off a World Series and the Royals playing well, that you can't get into Kauffman Stadium. Some great promotions. Buck Night on a Thursday. Replica World Series trophy giveaway night. And remember, all weekday games in April start an hour earlier to accommodate families with children. Back in 1998, Manny Ramirez got a hold of one of Mike Sweeney's bats. Manny Ramirez was famous for wanting to try other guys' bats. He liked it, and he ordered the model for himself. The next year, Michael said to Manny Ramirez, let me try one of your bats. He liked it, and he ordered that model for himself. And there was a period of time when they were the 2 best right-hand batters in the American League, and they were using each other's bats.
How about it?
How about that?
Yeah, now that happened a few times on some teams I was with, and when your catcher on your team picks up, lots of times he'll pick up the bat after the hitter hit it, and he'd look at the bat and see the name of one of your own teammates that was brought up in Kangaroo Court.
Springer backhands have saved a run as Alex stops at third base. And Omar Infante has a 2-hit game, so he just continues to hit. And the runners at first and third with 2 down.
Nice to see Infante healthy. No, he doesn't have any issues at all. He's feeling good in this little streak of games here that the Royals are on, playing every single night. He's getting into a nice little groove.
Omar Infante is hitting .310 to begin the season. Steve Kurtenbach, our director, just reminded me that, remember last year there was a stretch of time where now Infante seemed to have a different teammate's bat just about every night.
Yep, I remember.
In the dirt to Paulo Orlando, who has scored one of the 6 runs.
Paulo, he's making the best of his starts. He looks great in right field, taking perfect routes to balls. He's showing his arm. And he's hitting the ball. He's hungry. Played winter ball again this winter. I mean, this guy, he wants to seize the moment.
Every spring training, there's a player or players that are not easing into spring training. They are a level ahead of everybody else with the first spring training game. And it's usually guys that are trying to win a job. And Paulo was one of those guys this year. Gonzalez, great play to save a run. So Paulo's hit the ball hard 3 times tonight. The Royals have hit the ball hard all night. They have 12 hits and just about that many hard hit outs.
Very nice. Royals on top of Houston here in the final game of this 4-game series in the 8th inning. Just like we promised you earlier in the game, it's Miller time. Brought to you by Miller Lite. How about this Gold Glove play? And that's right, he wears the gold, and he throws it to the other guy who wears the gold, along with Salvador Perez. This was spectacular. He had a beat on that ball the minute he took off after it, and then turned it into 2. As Eric Hosmer told me in spring training, it's gold on gold crime.
If that's not the play of the year for the Royals defensively, then I can't imagine what will be. I mean, maybe somebody climbing the wall, standing on the top of the wall, and jumping up to rob a home run. I mean,
something tells me that play will be challenged. We got a long way to go, and the athleticism we see on a nightly basis, I don't know. I mean, that's definitely the fanciest play and the most athletic play we've seen this season.
Changes on both sides. Danny Duffy takes over after 7 excellent innings from Ian Kennedy, and Jake Marisnick pinch hits for Preston Tucker. And it's 0-2 on Marisnick. Fastball at the knees at 96.
I had a scout tell me today, he snuck up on me in the food line, and he said,
which is a dangerous thing to do.
It is. You guys have a pretty good bullpen. I said, hey, thanks, man. Yeah, I have a lot to do with that. Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty good bullpen.
Yeah, I said, well, you know, pitching coach Dave Island, he says they're deeper than they were last year. And the guy went, I believe it. You got guys that come in, throw hard, soar you. Come in with just 5 pitches last night. Look at Duffy just letting it out.
That's 8 strikeouts for Royals pitchers in 7 1/3 innings. Tonight's copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Kansas City Royals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Kansas City Royals Baseball Club. Ryan Lefevre, Rex Hudler, Joel Goldberg, Jeff Montgomery with the roof open at Minute Maid Park. With producer Joe Vencius, director Steve Kurtenbach, our associate producers Al Broughton, Sam Abramson, Dave Holtzman, and the producer of Royals Live is Brian Shapiro. Up the middle, Infante is there. Gomez is out, 2 down. Royals, and it's early, they have been averaging about 3 runs per game in their first 8. And yet their record is 6-2 because of pitching. So second in the ERA, second in the league in ERA, second in the league in strikeouts. More good pitching again tonight, but now Royals are showcasing the entire package: pitching, offense, clutch offense, and great defense.
And timely too. They can just hold on and get 3 out of 4 here. That would be sweet.
Gonzalez bats right-handed for the first time. He gets jammed, and Hosmer is there. Danny Duffy picks up where Kennedy left off. We go to the 9th. The Royals lead 6-1. All over those gold Royals uniforms, which they have gotten permission from Major League Baseball to wear Fridays all year at Kauffman Stadium. Real sharp looking jerseys and hats. Mazda Game Break. Speaking of special uniforms, tomorrow is Jackie Robinson Day. So all players throughout Major League Baseball will wear his number 42, which is retired. And since the retirement of Mariano Rivera, nobody in Major League Baseball wears number 42 except on Jackie Robinson Day, when all of baseball wears number 42. And the Royals will be in Oakland tomorrow and Saturday afternoon and Sunday afternoon. I remember a Jackie Robinson Day right here in Houston a couple of years ago. Now Alcides Escobar against Josh Fields, who is just into the game. So Esky 0 for 5 at the plate, but made the defensive play of the year, not just to this point, but maybe the entire season. We'll see. One down in the 9th inning.
Yeah, let's take a look at it again. Watch how far he goes for this. He's in at double play depth. I mean, I bet he was running 20 miles an hour at least on that. He was at double play depth. He wasn't at the back cut of the grass. Got a wow from Haas. Just incredible athleticism.
I was watching Kane the whole time. In my mind, when that ball was hit, that was Kane's play. No thought at all about that being Escobar's play.
He wanted that ball in the worst way.
Oh, Moustakas. Wide open on the left side. Did he do that on purpose, or was that?
No, it looked like he did it on purpose. Yeah, it did. He had no. We'll have to see it again, but it looked to me like the ball was in on his hands to see. Castro setting up right down the middle. Yeah, and it was on the inside part of the plate. And had he hit the cutout of the stands, he could have gotten a double. Well, that's nice.
And he'll get the rest of the night off. Christian Colon will run for Moustakas and take over at third base in the bottom of the ninth.
Go ahead, Moose. Way to get him started with that solo homer you hit. Third one on the season for Moustakas.
All right, maybe I'm overthinking this, Hud, but 5-run game, 1 out, 9th inning. Another hitter might say, I'm going to try and hit a home run. I'm going to get a pitch. I'm going to pad my stats. I'm going to try and take him deep. But if teams are going to shift like that against Mike Moustakas all year, that was a more intelligent approach there to say, you know what, in a 5-run game, I'm going to work on something that I may need to do with the game on the line later in the season.
Yeah, you're exactly right. He knows all about getting that average up. Those opposite field hits keep you honest, and then you turn on the one you want to turn on inside.
Dylan G and Chin-Ming Wong both warming up for the bottom of the 9th inning. Foul back by Kane. Lorenzo has 2 hits and a run scored.
Yeah, Ned's just sprinkling the innings in now with Duffy an inning and they'll decide on the others. But how about Kobe Bryant's night last night? I mean, we just saw Danny Duffy. Didn't get a chance, the inning went so quick, to talk about that evening, and Duffy was a huge Kobe fan. I mean, that was must-watch TV, and it happened late enough that after the game all the Royals players could watch it. 60 points by Kobe is amazing.
What a way to go out, huh? Josh Fields will get Eric Hosmer with Colon at first base and 2 down. Hosmer has another 2-hit game tonight. He's driven in 2. And he has 8 hits in this series. So that gets his batting average up to 353. He has always hit well here, hitting well over 400 in his career at Minute Maid Park. 96 from Fields. 1 ball, 1 strike.
He's got a power arm. He can bring it.
Blocked by Castro. 2-1. Royals will have Edinson Volquez, Chris Young, and Chris Medlin on the mound for the Oakland series, and they will face Rich Hill, Sonny Gray, and Chris Bassett. That'll be back into the crowd. 2-2.
I bet Ryan Matson is looking forward to the Royals coming, because I think he has a sneaking suspicion that he might be getting some hardware, some jewelry.
Just like Eric Kratz got his.
Yep.
The Royals here in Houston. Someone just threw a ball on the field. That was smart. That's the 2nd time in this series, and a fan's going to be ejected for throwing a Royals foul ball onto the field and almost hitting an Astros player. And we saw that happen with the Salvador Perez home run last night. Fan threw that home run ball back on the field and almost hit Carlos Correa with it. So he will be ejected from the stadium and then sent back to Harvard, where he's getting some doctorate, I'm sure. Correa makes a nice tumbling play in shallow left center field. Esky says, you see him shake his head. Nice play, but not that nice.
They love making plays, don't they?
Danny Duffy stays on for the bottom of the ninth. That's Evan Gattis. Pinch hitting for Jason Castro. Gattis came off of the disabled list for the game on Tuesday and was 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. So that's his first hit at the big league level, coming off of hernia surgery. And that's the first man to reach against Duffy, who retired the Astros in order in the 8th. Royals scored 1 in the first, 5 in the 6th, all with 2 outs. Ian Kennedy with another great start. So 2 in a row as a Royal. He's given up 1 run in 13 2/3 innings. And the Royals, who were hitting .150 with runners in scoring position, were 5 for 8 tonight.
Knew it would just be a matter of time. Pfister was the pitcher that was leaving some sinkers that up in the zone that weren't sinking.
Not in front, no balls, 2 strikes.
Wow, that was a pretty change up there. Perfectly located. He says, you guys going to come out first ball hacking on me with my heater? I got a couple other weapons I can show you. He's got a nice slider to work with it.
Right center field. Kane cuts it off. And Gattis holds at third. The Astros down by 5. Have runners at second and third and nobody out.
Tuve again having that opposite field stroke down. He went deep off of Ian Kennedy back in the 7th inning, and now he duplicates that same location and put it in the right spot out there. Ball gets by Kane. They score a run.
Royals baseball is brought to you by Jeep. Visit Jeep.com to learn more. And by T-Mobile. Get major league coverage. T-Mobile has doubled its 4G LTE in the last year. One more runner, and it's a save situation. So Wade Davis just starts to loosen up in the Royals bullpen. Ned Yost, remember, he had Dylan G and Chin-Ming Wong warming up with right-hand batters coming up. And he stayed with Duffy, who's given up a single and a double. Low to George Springer. Springer is 0 for 2 with a 7th inning walk.
Now with this kind of lead right here, I think he wants to go ahead and stretch Duffy out a little bit, give him some confidence by leaving him in, not going out and pulling him out. Let him try to clean up his own mess he started here.
Two 2-0. Christian Colon ran for Mike Moustakas in the top of the 9th inning, so he stays in at third base. .96 in for a strike. Duffy has pitched 4 innings out of the Royals bullpen. Make that 5 with his outing tonight. 5 innings. He's allowed 1 run. Way upstairs. And now he's 1 pitch away from getting Wade Davis into the game.
Springer's looking for that fastball here.
And And he got it.
And a good spot. Didn't put it down the middle. He left it on the outer half.
Springer swings like his life depends on it. I mean, he is down to a knee every time. Got him on what was probably ball 4.
Now, Springer's wanting to pick up those 2 ribbies out there if he can. And he's going to be a little bit more aggressive. Duffy, nice 2 pitches now, 2 heaters on the outside part of the plate. And at that velocity, doesn't give the hitter any time to be thinking. He's looking fastball. He got it, but it was out of his zone.
But that's not a good at-bat.
No.
I mean, you're down by 5. You need base runners.
Right.
Those 2 RBIs, I mean, if you get a good pitch hit, that's one thing, but you need base runners. You need to get closer to the potential tying run.
He was selfish. He wanted to pick up those 2 ribbies himself.
Ground ball, deep short. Escobar jumps, throws. Didn't get him this time. A run scores. It is 6-2. That makes it a save situation. And Ned Yost, as soon as it becomes a save situation, comes out to bring in Wade Davis. And Duffy got a ground ball just in a bad spot. And Davis will come on in a 4-run game with 2 on and 1 out. Game 1, and now they've scored 2 Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and 2 so far tonight. Wade Davis will try to keep them right there. He inherits 2 runners. The tying run is on deck, and he'll be pitching to Colby Rasmus. It was a bit of a struggle for Wade on Tuesday, even though he got the job done. But he saved his best pitch for last.
Yeah, cut it right down the middle. And, you know, he always seems to work his way out of it. Here he's going to have some inherited runners.
That was a 1-run game. Davis struck out Gaddis. Then he walked Valbuena. He walked Castro. He got Altuve to fly out to right, and then the strikeout against Springer as the Astros had the tying and potential winning runs on. Here he has to get 2 outs. It'll be Rasmus with White on deck.
Good cut fastball. I mean, it's a great one. Nice overhand curveball.
Outside with that curve. Two balls and no strikes. Davis said after the game that he was fighting his mechanics. His velocity was down a little bit, and says he's working through a bit of a dead arm period. Popped up. And that'll be back into the crowd.
Rasmus knew it was coming, just elevated enough to where he's able to get under it.
Getting that curveball down.
And it hasn't. The last two curves haven't had the same depth. It's a little short. He's not finishing.
Altuve's at second base. He doubled. Correa's at first. He was on with an infield single. Cutter 3-2. Go to it again.
Why not? Same identical pitch. He hits it on the ground with Infante. Go over those signs again, he says. Steps off. Relocate. Reload.
Just nicked it foul.
Stayed right down there in the zone. That's a perfect spot for a ground ball. He just didn't cooperate.
Never fair into the sweet level on the right field side. So he challenged him with 3 straight pitches, and it's 3-2. The Astros in the first 8 innings against Kennedy and Duffy had 1 run on 2 hits. That was the Altuve home run in the 7th inning. And now they have a run on 3 hits in the 9th. Ground ball to Infante, out at second. Double play, game over, series over, and the Royals come to Minute Maid Park, and they take 3 out of 4 from the Astros. And why not end on a double play? The Royals turned 3 completely different, but 3 double plays.
That was the most conventional right there, but great pitches there on Kobe Rasmus. Using cutters down below the knees. He hit it right to Infante. They rolled it up, and they're going to roll on out of here, taking 3 out of 4. You got